Hey, what's happening, athletes, and welcome back to the channel. So you've been watching YouTube, thinking about signing up for your first triathlon, but don't know where to start. With all the different training plans, race distances, and gear, triathlon can be extremely overwhelming. Don't worry, you're not alone, and I have you covered. In today's video, we are going to break down the 4 different triathlon distances, the amount of time you need to train for each, and help you select the right one for your first race. And if you stay tuned till the end, I'm going to tell you my secret that's kept me training and racing well into my 40s. So let's dig in. All right, athletes, in this video, we're going to be breaking down the 4 major race distances in triathlon. The first one, which is excellent for beginners, is going to be your sprint triathlon. That's easily the shortest of all of them and a great way to get into the sport if you're a newcomer. So what does it consist of? Again, all triathlons have 3 components: swim, bike, and run. So for a sprint, which is the shortest, it's a half of a mile swim, or about 750 meters. It's good to understand meters because most of your training for a sprint is going to occur within a pool. So 750 meters equals half a mile swim. Again, most triathlons are going to be open water. So getting that swim up to a level of confidence is going to be key. Now on to the bike. The bike on the sprint triathlon is probably the most manageable of all the sports across all the distances, as it's only 12 miles long. So this is something that you can really train for indoors often, even through spin classes, studio classes. Peloton is excellent. So a 12-mile bike. And lastly, that's bringing us to the run. The run for a sprint triathlon is 3 miles. So pretty short. Can be quick, can be slow. It's really up to you as you start to get into this race distance, but excellent for beginners. Now, how long is it going to take to train for a sprint triathlon? Generally, they're going to recommend anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. I feel 8 weeks is too short for just about any prep. So my advice to all new triathletes would be give yourself a minimum of 3 months and upwards of 4 months to prepare for your first sprint triathlon. That should give you adequate time to level up all your disciplines so you're ready to go come race day. All right, athletes, so we have the sprint distance covered. What if you want to take a step up, or you want your first race to be something with a little bit more consequence? That is the Olympic distance. So what are the distances required? So for the swim, Olympic distance is going to be about 1,600 meters, which equates to about 0.93 miles. That is a pretty significant step up from the sprint distance. So as we move to Olympic, we are nearly doubling the swim. And again, this will take place in open water. So now on to the bike. The bike for the Olympic distance is going to be a 24.8 mile bike ride. So we'll round that up to about 25 miles. Again, this is a very, very manageable bike leg. So there's a huge step up in the swim that's going to take a lot of effort to get that mastery down. But the bike is probably going to be the easiest component for most athletes as they move to this distance. I would say give yourself anywhere from about an hour and 15 to 2 hours to complete that distance in a race. Again, you do not need the nicest bike for an Olympic distance. You can even rent one on race day, and you can still do a majority of your training indoors if that's all you have available to you. So the bike in the Olympic distance is extremely accessible, and it can be probably one of the most enjoyable legs of all triathlon races across the board. Now you're onto the run leg of the Olympic. Again, endurance is going to become a key role here, as now you've already spent time in the water and on the bike, and you still need to save some energy for that run. So how long is the run in an Olympic distance triathlon? Well, it's 6.2 miles, so essentially a 10K race. This generally is a fast 6 miles when you compare it to some of the longer distances, and now we're starting to really add time to that race. For most athletes, 6 miles is going to take anywhere from, let's say, 40 minutes upwards up to an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on where you're at in your training. So you can start to see, as we moved from sprint to Olympic, the demands drastically started to increase. All right, athletes, now we're to the meat and potatoes of triathlon, and what gets most athletes excited are the Ironman distances. So the first of the Ironman distance, which is Ironman 70.3. 70.3 is the cumulative miles that you're going to be racing on this day. So you can tell right away, this is a big endeavor and is going to take a significant amount of time in order to prep for it and to ensure your training is at a level that your race is successful and fun. You'll notice that is a recurring theme for me. It's not just about doing these races, athletes. It's about having the best time you possibly can, not only for yourself, but for your friends and family who come to support you on these amazing adventures. So what are the distances in Ironman 70.3? Now we start to step it up a little bit, but when we talk about the swim, it isn't a huge increase from Olympic. That is one of the things that gave me the absolute confidence to move from Olympic distance to Ironman 70.3 is the marginal increase in swim, because like most of us out there, the swim is the most challenging for me as it is for many triathletes. So the swim distance in Ironman 70.3 bumps up to 1.2 miles. If you're doing that in the pool, that's a 2,000 meter swim approximately. So you'll really want to ensure before this race that you can in fact swim at least 2,000 meters in a pool. Doesn't need to be nonstop, but that will give you a huge boost of confidence when you head out into the open water for your swim. Now onto the bike portion. Again, this is a huge increase from the Olympic distance. So we have a small increase in the swim, but we're gonna double the distance on the bike. So we're going from that 24, 25 mile bike ride all the way up to 56 miles. This can easily take 3, 4, or even more hours on the bike. So the time component of 70.3 races really starts to stretch out. And on the bike, it's very important that we get a nutrition strategy and a hydration strategy, because we're on there so long. That's really gonna set us up for success when we get off the bike and get on to the run. Now we're on to the race leg for Ironman 70.3. This is a 13.1 mile run. Also a half marathon. This can take athletes anywhere from an hour and a half all the way up to 3 to 4 hours, depending on your training and experience and all of those different compatibilities. Now, when it comes to Ironman 70.3, I am going to recommend an absolute minimum of 6 months training. Can you do it in 3 months, 4 months? Absolutely. But 6 months is going to give you the best opportunity to get all of the disciplines to a decent enough level to compete, but it's also going to allow you to focus on gear, hydration, and nutrition, which becomes significantly more important as we move from Olympic to Ironman distances. So a 6 month to an 8 month training schedule should give you enough time to build in that base, build peak phase appropriately, and really start to hone in your progressive load, which we'll touch on in another video. All right, athletes, we've made it to the fourth discipline, the big daddy of them all, the longest, a full Ironman. I know this can be extremely, extremely intimidating to even think about. So let's break it down by each sport and then talk about the training time required. So Ironman swim. Again, when we go from 70.3 to full distance, everything doubles. So it's an enormous amount of workload, but it is manageable when done correctly. The swim is 2.4 miles in open water, okay? So that is an extremely long distance to be covering for swimming. Hopefully you've given yourself months, if not years, to work up to this distance. In the pool, that equates to about 4,000 meters of swimming. And yes, I do recommend that you're able to swim at least 4,000 meters in the pool before your first full Ironman race, and that will definitely set you up for success. Now we're on to the bike leg. If your full Ironman now is jumping all the way up to 112 miles. This is a huge effort, and where a vast majority of your time during the race is going to be spent. That can take athletes anywhere from 5 hours, upwards of 8 hours, and anywhere in between, depending on your fitness and speed. So spending a lot of time on the indoor trainer, spending a lot of time on the bike outdoors does become important. So you finish the swim, we finish the bike. Now we're left with just the run. How long is it in a full Ironman? Well, it's a full marathon, 26.2 miles. So that is an enormous effort, and one that is going to take quite a bit of training, not only just to do the 26.2 miles, but you have to remember you're doing it after a 112-mile bike. So the training and preparation of putting those two disciplines together in practice will become extremely important. That run can take athletes a very long time, as there might be a combination of run, walk involved. So I like to say anywhere from 3 hours for your elites. That would not be me. 4 hours, that's about what it takes me to complete, but it can be 6, 7 hours depending on your capabilities. Ironman is an endurance sport. It is not necessarily about time. It's about the training we put in and finishing that race and celebrating something that not many people can do. So you may have a fast time, you may have a slow time. To me, it's irrelevant. This sport is all about endurance and pushing beyond what you thought was capable for yourself. Now, full distance, what is the training time I would recommend? And this is going to be different for every single athlete out there. But my first full Ironman, I committed a full 12 months to training. I wanted to ensure I was as ready as I could, not only physically, but mentally. And then when it came to nutrition, hydration, gear selection, bringing all those things together, I gave myself a nice 12-year training program. So I would say anywhere from 8 months to a year and a half is going to give you ample time for you to get on the start line and crush those goals. All right, so we covered the distance. We got sprint, we have Olympic, we have 70.3, and we have full distance. Which one is the right one for you? Well, I would say, and what's kept me racing and training well into my 40s, is starting slowly and small. While I love starting small, we also want to push ourselves and challenge ourselves. Sign up for really big goals. Take ourselves to places we've never been before. And that's where so much of the reward is. So if you're looking at a sprint and it seems too easy, I would highly recommend Olympic distance is your starting race. I think it's a wonderful place for everyone to start. All right, athletes, that covers the 4 race distances. I hope it was helpful, shed a little bit of light on the distances and the time it should take to prep for them. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. But more importantly, drop a comment below. Let me know what race you're thinking about signing up for, or if you just signed up for a race, please let me know, and I'll see you out there on the race course.